Yeah, but it's so fun, and Mark Watney's freaking sweet, dude. He's so sweet.
Call me a snob.
I will. You're a snob. The Martian's great.
Okay. Thank you. I was asking. It was more of like a masochism thing. Hello, everybody. I'm Cody Troyer.
And I'm Brent Gaisford.
And we are the Hugonauts, here to review and discuss with you the best sci-fi novels of all time. This episode, we're
telling you what you like, in case you didn't know. The listener survey is out. Gordon Burroughs II helped us run this whole thing to ask the audience, and the results are super fun. Super excited to tell you about them.
Yes, and we have episodes on 9 out of 10 of these. So if you want to hear any, extra about them, go check those out.
Yeah, we're gonna keep you waiting in great suspense to find out which one we don't have an episode on. Cody, what's number 10?
Number 10 is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, which we don't have an episode on because we did an Andromeda Strain by Crichton first. So I was incredibly surprised that this was anywhere. This was not on my radar to make like even close to the top 10 on the list. So I was surprised by this one, but people love it, I guess. And it's not, it's a great novel. It just, I hadn't thought about Jurassic Park here.
I liked this sneaking onto the list actually, because I feel like recently I've become like fun novel guy where it's like, it's entertaining. That means it's good. Like whatever, like there doesn't need to be a big message. Anyway, to me, that's like Crichton's novels through and through. Growing up, I read like all of them. They're so good. They're so fun. I'm glad he snuck on into the top 10. And it's just like it's not my favorite one. It's very good, but it is the most popular. So I see why it made the list, I suppose. Also, that movie's pretty sick. Having a Steven Spielberg movie helps, probably.
Yeah, it's like backing it up. I agree with you. I thought it's a great novel, but it's not my favorite Crichton. I'm also, I think I'm sliding in the opposite direction towards you. The novels that are just enjoyable, I still love, but I'm like liking them less and less as we find more novels that are enjoyable and really like informative and thinky and deep. I don't know.
Well, speaking of, number 9 on the list is Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Hey!
Which is, obviously great. Love the planet Winter. My favorite part of this isn't even the point of Left Hand of Darkness. I'm just spoiling anything. But the idea in Left Hand of Darkness that's always stuck with me is this idea that like if we had interstellar travel, like even if we could do it, you couldn't trade anything but ideas. And so like all that matters is like what ideas you can pass back and forth and how do you like make each other's societies better. I think that's going to be so true in whatever 500 years when we're doing interstellar travel. Maybe, I don't know. What you heard it here first.
Your guess is as good as any.
Anyway, yeah. And that's just like the smallest, non-spoileriest piece of Left Hand of Darkness. What a great book. I'm glad it's here.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And it also is just a great literary work. And it's fun to see that a lot of the ones that you and I decided were the top 10 best books of sci-fi are on this list. I think there's like 6 or 7 that are cross with our list. Yeah. So that's nice.
For sure.
Number 8 was not on the list, but narrowly missed my top 10 list.
Due to me being a turd in the punch bowl.
Right. Which was Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And, recency bias be damned. This novel is excellent. It's just so good. The spider half and the human half. I loved both of them. An emotional experience, a different, weird, interesting experience. And I think Tchaikovsky's one of the best science fiction writers writing right now. He's definitely in that top level.
I agree. I'm so glad he's on the list. I really like this book. I just think the spider part is so sick and the human part is so lame. They're such lame humans, dude.
I love the human part. I'm a sucker for time dilation, especially when explored like personally and emotionally. And I think it's necessary in the novel to keep a human audience moored to the text.
See, I'm just a Portia guy. Anyway, okay.
Okay, yeah, but Portia is sick too. I mean, yeah. It's a great novel.
So good.
What's Sev?
Number 7 is Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. which is the only humorous book that's actually made the top 10 spoilers. Sorry, Douglas Adams, you didn't make it. But Snow Crash did.
And
So
Snow Crash is like kind of a humorous. It's like it's funny, but that's not its
dude, the main character
goal.
is named Hero Protagonist.
It's a hilarious book that's an action book too. It's like one of those, great action movie where it's like a comedy and great action. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. With a good idea too. I mean, the good idea is stolen from Babel 17 by Delaney, but it's still a good idea. It like has a philosophical point too. It's wild that it does so much in the book. It's funny, sweet action, and some spoilers that I'm not going to talk about, but they're a cool idea. Anyway, yeah.
I gotta say, every time we say something is cribbed from something else, I feel like 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh no, that was cribbed from blank. There's an older, I'm sure the language concept was like in a Greek myth or something at some point. It must be,
Probably.
it must have been explored by elsewhere earlier.
You know how in our Expanse episode, we had a hard time like thinking of books to recommend? Anyway, I'm reading an Asimov right now where like the idea about the big bad enemy that is overarching in the Expanse series, turns out that was in an Asimov book.
Which book?
The Gods Themselves. I'm halfway through. I don't know if I'm recommending it yet. It's
okay.
There's good and there's bad so far. We'll see. I'm holding out. I'm
okay.
But anyway,
well, yeah. There you go. There you have it. Number 6 is another UK Le Guin, The Dispossessed, which we did a book club on. That was fun, and it's a fantastic novel. I still think I like Left Hand of Darkness better, personally, because it's the scope is a little smaller. It's a little more like a human story instead of like the protagonist being so important to everything. It's a little smaller scope, but Dispossessed is also amazing. And for those of you who like the protagonist to be at the center of it all a little more, and the unlike Left Hand, the planets, the moon and the planet are close enough that Le Guin really uses that to explore two totally different ways of organizing a society.
Yeah. This is The Dispossessed is like my favorite science fiction economics book. Super good exploration of like the pitfalls of capitalism and the pitfalls of communism and like
socialism, I guess.
They're communists, dude.
Oh,
they say they're anarchists, but they have committees that decide everything. Whatever. I'm calling it.
It's true.
Communists.
There's no central head, I suppose. It's not despotic. Would be
sure. Yeah.
Maybe
it's like a real communist. Well, sort of though. That's kind of you got to read the book to find. You got to decide for yourself.
You got to read the book, and then you got to read a lot of other books to decide if we have socialism and communism correct. Okay.
For sure. Get back to us after you've read Hegel. Anyway, okay. Number 5, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, which I'm just so happy made the list. Or this is like. Ender's Game, for me personally, was like the first. Like, I can remember reading Ender's Game for the first time when I was 12. Like, I was sitting at the small table in the kitchen, and my parents were trying to talk to me, and I just was like, no, I'm busy. And it was like the hook that, like, I'm a sci-fi guy now. Like, anyway, so I've very deep a place in my heart. I'm so glad it's here.
Yeah, similarly, I remember reading it in maybe early high school or late middle school or something for class reading. And, when it's homework, it's always homework. And I started reading it and I was like, oh, yeah, this is the homework. I'm just going to do English for a couple weeks. It's a fantastic novel that does not, you can read at any age and get something out of it. And you can get something different out of it when you're an adult than when you're a kid. The political stuff between his siblings was so much more fascinating to me the second and third time I read it as an adult.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When we did I hadn't reread it since being, really like a tween until we were going to do our episode on Ender's Game. I was so nervous about it. I was like, oh my God, is this going to be bad? Like, am I going to have misremembered this? Is this going to hold up? I was so happy. It's like still great as an adult. Anyway, I totally agree with you.
So we should find out now what 4 books beat out the best twist of all time. Ender's Game. Number 4 is The Martian by Andy Weir, which I gotta say, as the only one on this list that I'm surprised by and patently disagree with. Actually, it's not the only one, but The Martian is great. I like The Martian. It's just a straight ahead, good, fun book, which I guess
it's so
maybe
fun. And Mark Watney's freaking sweet, dude.
yeah,
He's so sweet.
Call me a snob.
I will. You're a snob. The Martian's great.
Thank you. I was asking. It was more of like a masochism thing. I don't know. Sometimes when I see that, and then you see like, no China Mieville in the top 20, you're like, oh man, guys, come on.
Dude, honestly, I think that's partly our fault. We haven't talked about China Mieville enough. We're going to do another China Mieville episode soon. We both really liked City in the City, the book that we're going to do soon. If you want to sneak ahead and read before we do the episode, we're going to do an episode soon on Embassy Town. It's even better than City in the City. He's just, everything he writes is
interesting.
Amazing.
We can get to that. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I'm on my 6th Mieville in a row right now. I'm just reading all of his books. He's like my favorite author. Anyways, The Martian's great.
Number 3.
Yeah, okay. Number 3.
Contact by Carl Sagan, which when we did our top 10/15, because we're bad at counting, this was our number 1. And so obviously we freaking love it. It's like, it's got cool science. It's got amazing people. It's got this incredible investigation of like what belief means. And it's also like so optimistic about the future, but it also wasn't, it's not a golden age book. And that's like sort of a rare thing. God, just, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's sneaky. It's sneaky, like all great books in general, but science fiction in particular. I think you have these central concepts and characters that are super compelling. Like you said, when does science become faith is explored in the book. It's a really interesting way of exploring it. But also it's just peppered with all these other details and ideas along the way that you that aren't the central point, but could be the central point of other novels. And those great novels just have that, where they have so many things going on at the same time.
Yeah. And if you, like me, saw the movie Contact first and are like, oh, that was good, but like, I don't know if I need to read the book ends differently. It's like one of the craziest, as I got to the end of the book, I was like, oh, wait, we're not doing what the movie did? This is like going to keep going? Awesome. And then it gets even better. It's awesome. It's awesome. You should read it if you haven't read it. Anyway. Yep.
Agree. Number 2 is what I voted for as number 1, which is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Classic. It's amazing. The format, the Chaucerian Canterbury Tales format is fun. Having all these short stories framed by this huge mystery. Each of them is representative of regular literary history, human history, and science fiction ideas and the history of science fiction. It's an incredible melding, academic almost melding of all of these literary traditions in one place. And Fall of Hyperion 2, also awesome. It's it's 2 books that make one giant arc, and I mean, I'll reread it again and again.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I'm a Hyperion guy, not a Fall of Hyperion guy. So like now when I reread, I actually just read Hyperion and not the second one, which is like, whatever. It's weird for various reasons, but also like, whatever. I'm allowed to like what I like. So that's what I like. But yeah,
that's
it's incredible.
True.
It's an incredible book. Number 1.
Number one. Some of you yelled at us on YouTube when we did our top 10, and you were like, I watched all the way through, and I thought I was going to get to number 1, and it was going to be obvious. And Dune's not even in your top 10.
Yeah, right.
But
because
here it is. Here it is for you. Apparently, all of you are right.
So no.
All of you agree.
Here. Yes. Okay, Dune by Frank Herbert. You're number 1. Congratulations, Frank. I think here's my take on this. I think Dune is an incredibly formative book in the history of sci-fi. I think the core plot is extremely interesting, and I think Frank Herbert's not a very good writer, and Denis Villeneuve did it much better. The movies solve all the problems of the books. The Dune movies are so sick, some of the best sci-fi movies ever, and they should novelize those, and then I'll vote for that as my number one of all time.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Can't disagree with anything you said there. I totally agree. I wonder if there's some recency bias coming in from the movies that are making people think differently about the book, or they read the book again after the movie and they have, when they're reading the book, they're like, oh, this adds to the lore of the movie. I'm wondering if the movie is central canon.
Or, I'm just going to throw it out there, or we're just curmudgeons, but I refuse to believe this. But it's possible.
Right. Well, we already identified that I'm a curmudgeon and a snob. So we're already shooting 50% here.
I think I'm probably a curmudgeon, but I haven't accepted it yet. Anyway, the numbers don't lie. Dune's the best. And I think you're all wrong. Welcome to the show.
Feel free to rip us open again in the comments on this video as well. So now we have a fun section. That's the top 10. Now we have a fun section coming up. We're going to talk to Gordon, the creator of the survey, about the top 10, the other stuff that surprised us about the survey.
There's all sorts of other cool books and short stories that came up through this that we hadn't even heard of that are awesome.
Right. The survey has a section for favorite authors and favorite short fiction as well, which we'll talk about.
That. Yeah. And we'll do 11 through 22 so you can hear the rest of the list.
Yeah. At the very end of the episode, we're going to drop 11 through 20 so you can just have another teaser. And then also in the note section, the comment section, Brent, which section are you going to drop this in?
We are, Gordon did an awesome job crunching all the numbers of the survey so you can see all the results, all kinds of interesting stuff about which genres were popular. Anyway, so we're going to put that link in the Discord. So check that out if you're not already on the Discord. As usual in the episode notes, there's a link to join. So check that out and you can see all the survey results.
And now we're going to chat with Gordon. And Brent's video is going to get super spooky and weird somehow. I don't know how that happened.
My video is about to get terrible. Sorry, everyone. My audio will be clean. See you then.
Gordon, thank you so much for joining us. This is really fun. Thank you for making this survey, doing all this work. That's really fun to have you. I'm glad you could join us to talk about your baby.
I'm glad to be here. I mean, it was fun to do. I enjoyed the process. I'm sure it might have stressed you out sometimes with the random questions, but
no, we're unflappable. Okay, so what book do you personally love that you think the rest of the Hugonauts are sleeping on, that you think came down just way too low on the list and people should read?
I would say, I mean, I didn't even put this on my list because it wouldn't have been in my top 10, but Peter Hamilton's Great North Road, I think, is a fantastic novel. It didn't even quite make my top 10, and nobody talks about it. Same thing with Stevenson's Ream D, which has probably the best villain I've ever seen in a novel.
Sorry, what was that one?
Neil Stephenson's Ream D.
Oh, yeah. I've heard mixed things about that, but I like that you like it. That bumps up my list. Did actually...
Favorite villain sounds spicy.
Did any Peter F. Hamiltons make the list, actually? Or did he get rudely shut out?
Reality Dysfunction.
Okay, for sure. I've had... So, from way before we started the show, Cody's been telling me I needed to read the Void trilogy.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to bring that up.
And I've also heard Pandora's Star is great. Anyway, we're going to cover some Peter F. Hamilton someday when I get
Salvation.
It together.
Yeah.
I'm about 4 years late on getting it together, but I will.
So that's a really good pick. IMO. Brent, did you have one?
I'm going to go with Forever War. I was shocked how few people put Forever War in their top 10. I freaking love Forever War. I think it's so good. I think it's my favorite, military sci-fi. Plus, it's also the best anti-war sci-fi book. I think it's just really great and also super real. Plus, I just like really love Joe Haldeman. So anyway, yeah, no, that's my pick.
That's a good pick. I was gonna go with there's a bunch, but I'd say Scanner Darkly fell like super far down the list, like 54th, and I think it only got 2 top 10 votes, which I assume was you and me, Brent. So
might be. Yeah, I was surprised Ubik was higher. Ubik is like normally I'm often worried like, are we too into like weird literary philosophical sci-fi stuff? Like, are we off the deep end on that? But clearly not. Everybody thinks Ubik is is the greatest. So I guess we can get even weirder.
yeah.
I started that one earlier this year, and I'll be getting back to that shortly.
Ubik queued for Gordon and should be queued for us. You can let us know what you think, listeners.
Oh, have you not read that one, Cody?
No.
Oh, I have. It's weird. It's super weird. Yeah. I mean, it's good, but it's like,
I mean, it's PKD.
Sorry, you have read it.
Yeah. No,
it's
just, it's just, you know, he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot like he does. Anyway. Yeah.
So Gordon, did you hear anything new from the survey that you've since read or is like really close to being read for you?
I read after seeing the survey results, I've read 0 Hour by Bradbury. Is one of the short stories that I'd never even heard of before. And it's, I don't know, like 8 pages. And it was great.
Easy.
Yeah, it was a quick short read. Had like some horror elements, alien invasion story. Nice short and fantastically done.
That dude loves creepy kids.
Yeah. And you also, there was another book that you found that you were showing on the Discord that it was like really hard to find a copy, but you're stoked to read it. What was that one?
Yeah, it was, I actually have it right here.
Got it right there. Yeah, let's see it.
Well, it's going to be backwards, I guess, in the video, but A Brilliant Void is it's a collection of Irish classic science fiction authors, and it has the Chromatron by like O'Hoyd. I'm probably murdering that name, and my grandmother is going to be upset by that. But that was the one that came through about 2/3 of the way through the survey. And I honestly, when I looked at the last name, I was like, well, this is clearly spelled wrong. And no, it was spelled right.
That is a hyper specific, like Irish only science fiction short stories.
All right. And on the note of short stories, Ted Chiang absolutely smashed the short story nominations. Can we officially crown Ted Chiang the GOAT of sci-fi short story writing?
I think that would be a little bit too early to say that. I don't think the survey was large enough to like ascertain or dictate.
Oh, come on. You think if we asked 10,000 sci-fi fans, 9,000 of them aren't going to say that he's the best? I feel so confident. He's so good.
No, well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you look at where, like, all of the novels actually came from, almost half of them are, like, contemporary. And then it drops down drastically as you go further in time. So, like, Philip K. Dick came in second, but he's also, like, those novels are 70 years old. You know, will Ted Chiang be as popular 50 years from now? And he might be. I think he's certainly in contention.
So perhaps a bit of a recency bias?
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So I think about this a lot. So very frequently you see like really strong recency bias in any kind of list you ever, like any best of list in anything, there's always super strong recency bias. And I used to be like real curmudgeonly about it and be like, oh, people just don't know the good old stuff, which might be true. Or also though, frankly, as we've like read more, I've kind of come to the realization that like, I think this is true with everything, not just sci-fi, but like sort of our culture is getting better over time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like, do you feel like I often feel like sometimes I pick up, not often, but sometimes I pick up like an old sci-fi book that I've heard really good things about. And then I finish it and I'm like, oh no, I'm 50 years too late to this one. Anyway, so yeah, I'm curious. Are you like a golden age guy, or are you like a recent sci-fi guy?
I think I'm more recent than golden age, but I would say for like short fiction, My uncles got me into Philip K. Dick pretty early, so he's probably my
that's
favorite.
why you're not willing to crown Ted Chiang. The truth is out.
To give,
I mean, I'm sure that's absolutely part of it. Yes, I would be biased.
That's great.
Dick was pretty high on the list though too. I feel like people definitely agree with that as well. There was definitely like a globbing in those couple top spots and then a big fall off.
Yes.
It felt like Dick, Le Guin, and Ted Chiang basically.
I think it was Ted Chiang by a long shot, because I think he like doubled what PK Dick had, and then PKD doubled. I think it was Bradbury, and then Asimov and Le Guin were pretty close.
Okay, Bradbury was up there too. Yeah, that all tracks. That all tracks for us. I guess we just we liked the result, so we're for it. And from a narrative basis,
I mean, I also think there could be an aspect to it where this is like your viewer survey.
Right.
You've covered Ted Chiang with the short stories, so there might be an aspect where the people that are responding to this survey are influenced by your show.
That's true. We also released a Philip K. Dick short story, though, that Cody recorded when I was deep in the baby trenches one week. So,
oh, that's true. But that's not a lot of coverage. I think you're right about that too. I was going to bring that up. That perhaps it's influenced by us, which I guess makes sense. You also broke down every book by genre, by subgenre, which I thought was really cool and interesting. There's so many on there. What do you think after, doing all that and seeing all these genres, what genre do you think is as Brent has it, on the upswing these days, or like becoming more and more popular?
I think it's going to be either alien invasion, probably due to like Three Body Problem, or environmental science fiction, like,
climate fiction.
Yeah, climate fiction. Like Kim Stanley Robinson has a couple books out, like New York 2130. Probably have that name wrong.
Ministry for the Future,
and Ministry for the Future,
and that new Neil Stephenson novel too, right? Isn't that a climate?
Oh, Termination Shock.
Yeah, that sounds right.
God, I really thought I'd read a lot of Neil Stephenson, and now that I'm looking at all of them, I got a lot more to read. Dang.
I know. That's what's been so fun about the survey in general is there's just, every time we think we're getting to the end of a path, it's like, nope, here's a million more things you can read that'll be fresh. And it's especially fun to see what everyone else loved, since it's based on just top 10 results. So that's been awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of, what was surprising for you, Gordon? Anything in the particularly in like the author and or short story sections that you were like, oh dang, I did not expect that.
I wasn't expecting for the author section. I don't think anyone put Orson Scott Card down anywhere. So I think that would be a bit of a surprise, even though
Ender's Game was one of the really best books. High. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the people who loved Ender's Game kept reading that series and all read it to the point that they were like, screw this guy, I'm done. These have gotten bad.
Yeah, or there's just so much Orson Scott Card hate out there that, him, people don't think of him as like a great author. They're just thinking of Ender's Game as its own thing.
I mean, possibly. I don't think that the Ender Quartet is bad. Like, it definitely gets a little strange. And I really like Speaker for the Dead.
I was going to say, I think I like Speaker better than Ender's Game. Shoot me.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think Ender's Game is a fantastic novel. I love it, but I do prefer slightly Speaker for the Dead. Next year, I might go back to Ender's Game.
Some people did put Speaker. Someone did put Speaker on the list because it was pretty far down, but it wasn't.
It was myself and one other person.
Yeah. Which is, it's not nothing. It's when you're choosing top 10, like any of these books means, people really loved every one of these books, which is why it's so fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we didn't wait any of the novels, because we kind of figured all of these are going to be everyone's 5-star, 4-star books. Like, these aren't books that anyone didn't like, so having any kind of weight for them would have been manipulative.
And to that end, what made you want to do this project? It's a very complex spreadsheet array with with pie charts and lots of cool breakdown. What made you conceive of this and want to do it?
Well, I mean, it actually came from the Discord. There was like Bosco, one of the other members, had posted like a New York Times survey about science fiction, and then a few people were talking about like doing our own. And there was like Zeth, I think Mitch was involved, R.A.H., or R.A. Howells,
the likely suspect.
And we were just talking about it, and I guess I just took the reins.
Well, thanks for making it happen. It's been so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my favorite part of it was the short fiction section, just because, I mean, I think we've all seen like top 10 novels. So having the like other sections I thought could be kind of fun. And that was definitely the section that had the most unique and new entries.
Yeah, it definitely led to a lot of stuff I haven't heard of. I was interested by those, but I'm also a sucker for just like the hits, like the top 10 novels was just really fun for me to see, and to see what everyone thought, and like what Brent and I were surprised by, what fell out and what made it in, that we were like, what? Or yes, we are right. like any top list.
Sure.
All right. And so last, is there anything from the survey that like jumped up on your to read list, or that's changed what you're planning to read in the future, other than, I guess, obviously the Irish sci-fi?
I'm definitely going to get the Dispossessed another go. I've tried it twice on audiobook, and I think it's just one that I need to read physically. I don't know if it was just the audiobook author I'm drowning out or something, but I was getting lost. So I know that's one that I need to read, and there's a few others in that like top 20 that I haven't gotten to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I mean, when we discussed it, that was our first book club book, and a lot of people had that reaction.
Oh.
So I don't think you're alone.
I think time jump stuff is harder. I actually had that experience with Ian Banks, Consider Phlebas was pretty high on the list, but I think that's actually because you were just putting anytime somebody would put a book in a series, you would code it to the first book in the series, right, Gordon?
Except for the David Brin series, both people that put that series in specifically chose one that was books 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So for that one, I did do book 2. But yes, the other ones that end up having a series, I would just put the first novel. I think there was only one person that had The Culture.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's only one vote that came from Consider Phlebas from that aspect.
Okay. Yeah. Well, where I was going with that is, so I read Consider Phlebas and I like didn't love it, and then I like was reading, and lots of people are like, "Oh, that's not a good one. You have to go to try Use of Weapons or Player of Games." And I started Use of Weapons, and Use of Weapons has actually even more aggressive time jumping for whatever. We don't need to get into Use of Weapons right now, but then even more aggressive time hopping than Dispossessed. And I was listening on audiobook, and I stopped halfway through. I was like, I can't keep the time jumps straight. It's too much harder. Whereas Dispossessed, when something about reading physically is just like, I think your brain is just more on, basically. But yeah, anyway, that very much makes sense to me that Dispossessed on audiobook is hard, because I had the same experience with Use of Weapons, which is like, I just was so confused. I have to pick up the paperback.
Yeah, no, I started Use of Weapons, and I had the same issue. So I agree with you there. Player of Games, though, was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Player of Games being a standalone culture novel for me is perfect. That one was very fun, and I was surprised at how much he could make a book about a game and not confuse you and also not drown you in like otherworldly game statistics.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well maybe I'll do that one on audiobook, and I'll get a use of weapons on physical copy. But I know we the culture is like a hole in our catalog. We know we need to talk about the culture, but we haven't got
one day. All right, so we told you earlier we'd give you a little treat, just a teaser, 11 through 20. If you want the rest of the numbers and you want to see all the data and all the awesome stuff Gordon has put together, once again, come join the Discord to check that out. Gordon will post this once the episode airs, so it should be up now that you're hearing this. Number 11 is Foundation by Isaac Asimov.
Number 12 is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury.
Number 13 is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams.
Number 14, The Three Body Problem by Liu Cixin.
15 is Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke.
16, Exhalation and Other Stories by Ted Chiang. Correct.
10. 17 is The Dark Forest by Liu Cixin.
Number 18 is Neuromancer by William Gibson.
We got to do an episode on that someday soon. Number 19, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Never even thought about doing an episode about that, but I guess we should. Why not? Anyway, okay.
Yeah, we just read it. It's public domain. And number 20 is Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. So there you have it, 1 through 20, all in one episode. As voted by you, the listeners. So that was a really fun episode. And once again, thank you so much, Gordon, for putting this together. This was really fun.
Yep, I enjoyed it. I'm glad you had fun with it too.
Sweet. All right, well, great seeing you, man.
All right.
Peace.
Later.
All right, bye.